Dr. Bernie, you're up for Parks Board.
The Parks Board met last night. There's lots going on in parks. The Euchre League started on March 6th. Easter Bunny Picture Day is April 12th. We have an Arbor Day seedling giveaway April 24th and 25th, subject to supplies available. The McCordsville Market will start up again in McCordsville Square on May 10th. We received a report from Context Design on our youth sports park feasibility study. One thing that's very apparent is parks are really expensive. I saw a really nice layout, and it was followed by the comment, I think this is probably more than a community like yours can afford. It wasn't necessarily couched in dollars and cents, but it was couched in, there's apparently a level at which community folks are sort of parked out as far as spending money on parks. So the number of sports fields that we can afford may have some limits other than finance. We received an update on the Story Walk, working with the library board on that, and they've applied for a grant, and that's moving along pretty good. The community center build-out timeline still looks like towards the end of the year. However, Old School Park construction has started up, and little did I know that the monument there to the old school, which appeared to be an archway, was actually a tombstone beneath which the old school is buried, which we found out just recently. There was a large building there that was a McCordsville school, and at some point in the past it ostensibly burned down. I know little about it and haven't been able to find out much more about it, but I went over there and looked, and it was a large building, and much of it is still there underground. So we have a subsurface that's not suitable to build the parkland on that we wanted to build. We were planning on a rubberized surface, which doesn't have much strength in and of itself, but does provide the appropriate bounce to have an insurable surface, and is what's recommended and what we were going to put in. But if it slumps, you got to tear it out and do it again, and it's expensive, and it's very temperamental as far as when you can put it in. So you have to have the right temperatures and so on. So we've been waiting to put it in, and now we find out that we have all of this debris from the old school down there. It's everything from plumbing to broken up masonry to big chunks of concrete that are probably 8 or 12 by 4 by 10, who knows how big they are, foundation pieces, concrete masonry units. I went over there and looked. I didn't see burned material in there, so I don't know about the fire. I couldn't find any wire to get an idea of the construction date as far as what was in there, as far as was there asbestos wrapped wire. One thing I do know in there for sure is going to be in there based on the date of construction and demise of the building, is there's going to be lead paint in there. So we have some choices to make, folks. We can dig it all out and haul it all away. The concrete will probably have to go to the Marion County dump. That's assuming that nobody checks it for hazmat, which could be in there, and maybe we ought to do that first. See what exactly we've got, make sure we don't have an EPA site that somebody gave to Vernon Township as a park and days gone by and didn't want to clean it up. I don't know. So we may want to investigate what the material is before we haul it off and have to haul it back or something like that. If somebody else checks it later, find something we didn't know about. It's many cubic yards, and the hole would be a number of feet deep. Once you get it all out, it's a big hole, and to provide the surface we would have to build on, we'd have to fill it with a compactable material like number 53 stone, which locks together good with the weight of like a D8 driving over it every 6 inches as you fill it in. Contractor's suggesting maybe 4 feet of that interlocked and compacted, and maybe we could build our rubberized surface on top of that, on top of which was going to go the playground. In addition to that, we'd need a large amount of compactable fill dirt, which is not readily available right now because all the dirt that's available is not compactable because it's too wet. So there's another delay on that. And the contractor, you know, in a quick drive-by is talking a $250,000 change order, of which we do have money to cover it in the parks budget, but we might want to talk about this some. So we have kind of a big old mess over there right now. Greg, I'll leave that up to you whether we discuss it here or whether we have a special meeting or what. But
since it's so we did Mark did talk to the contractor. We do need to remove. It shouldn't have been there in the first place, but when it was the 1983 school actually that was knocked in, there were 2 schools that burned down before, but then this last school that was on the site was in 1983, and it didn't burn down. They just knocked it into the basement and buried it.
They all started up and away.
Yeah, some of it away, but a lot of it's still there, which is what they started digging out for our expanded playground, ran into the foundations, all the brick, all that stuff. So it's a change order. We have to get it out of there to be able to compact. Dr. Bernie's right. We have to be able to compact for the surfacing. We did get it down a little bit. It was a $209,000 change order because it's about 10,000 square feet of surface area that we need to remove and then haul away. And it's down to, they made some reductions. Smith Construction actually reduced their fees. So it's at $197.60.87. We do have the money in the park bond. It's not ideal that this is what we wanted to spend it on. We'd like to do an amenity or something, but we also believe, you know, this is a problem that's been sitting in the ground for a long time, and we should clean it up right and move forward, in our opinion.
Just to clarify, at some point we'll have to do the extra, basically $100K for the clay dirt.
Couple questions for Mark before we move on.
Let me answer his question first.
Okay.
The answer is no. We were looking at a couple different options, whether it was stone fill or fill dirt, and the fill dirt would be more cost effective, but the question came up with availability.
Okay.
So that was led us to go down the path of filling with the 53 stone.
I was wanting to ask you, Mark, could asphalt tailings be used in lieu of 53 gravel?
Possibly, but we don't have any available.
Well, we're looking at vacating an asphalt alleyway, which could be scrabbled out tonight. We also have a community crossing grant, which is going to produce asphalt tailings, which belong to the contractor, of course.
After we're done with
But we might be able to get tailings from them for another project since they're already in the truck and trade them out later somehow. We have 53s in the parking lot at the community center, which I believe we're going to dig out and replace with asphalt when that is built. So we do have some resources.
There would be, but timing is the more critical issue. The cost we have with Smith projects, it's a reasonable number. It's basically $40 a ton for 53 stone placed and compacted, and it is contingent on them being able to continue. If they have to stop on it and then remobilize on it later, there would be a different price.
Sure.
And like community crossings isn't going to be done until July, and we should be done with this project by July.
Well, I wasn't suggesting waiting until July. I was suggesting if they were working someplace else, they'd bring that stuff over here, and maybe we'd give them what they were going to sell it for at the asphalt plant or something, and later on they'd get ours, as they were going to. Just looking at availability of a product that we might get closer, because trucking is a big cost.
I don't think you end up saving much because you're still doing the hauling and you're still doing the purchase of the materials, and maybe a few
That's fine.
thousand
I
here or
just
there.
thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah. So we approved that, it was 209,000 last night at the park. This just came up, on Friday? So it's a little bit of a scramble, but the timing was good because we had Parks Board and now we have council. So because of the size of the change order, we needed to bring it and get approval for it.
The
So
Parks
we're still
Board
under
did
the
approve
20%
it, So the
on
ball's
change
in our
orders there.
court, folks.
So,
Well, we've got a nice little project working there. I know this was an unexpected expense, but at the same time, I know we have a lot of people in our community who are looking forward to that park opening as soon as possible. And if the weather turning the way it is, we hope to get use out of that sooner rather than later. And I'd hate to have us wait until late June, July to open that one. I think we're on course to get it open by Memorial Day.
yeah, it's, that rubberized surface is the X factor because it has to be 24 hours of a certain temperature, so.
We could sell old school bricks.
Memorabilia out there. All right, if there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to either approve or deny the change order.
I'll make a motion that we approve the change order.
Second?
There has been a first and second to approve the Smith Project's change order for Old School Park. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, Redevelopment Commission met. RDC approved 2 parcel purchase. Yep, with us participating as town council on in both of those. So just one. Sorry, the one. So purchasing of those parcels on Broadway, that'll help for future economic development. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah, we just had a kind of a preliminary overview of the strategy on the patch development, so
Right.
no official action.
Vernon Township did meet committee, but it was just to approve, I imagine, a change order for the new training center at Vitality Way. So that was kind of the same thing. Some unexpected costs came up on that, so they met. Metropolitan Police Board.
We did not meet. The report is posted.
All right. Public Works.
Same thing. We did not meet this month.
Okay, awesome. You guys are very efficient, I guess. Architectural Review Committee.
Architects Review Committee met on Tuesday, February 18th at 5:30. We got to the old business of Lennar Homes' request for recommendation on their product lineup for Alexander Ridge 2, which we had not gotten to the previous meeting because there's too much jammed up on the agenda. We approved it with a contingency that all the garage doors would be decorative. And there were a couple models that we did not approve, but otherwise we approved most of it. Then we also reviewed Drees Home request for approval of a new elevation for Vintners Park. I believe it was the Parquet Southern F or something like that. That model we did approve, and that was it.
Planning Commission.
Yes, we did meet. There was 3 topics for rezoning. The first one was Drees Home, looking at rezoning from R1 to Creekside PUD, and that topic was continued until the next meeting. The second one was the Vail Trust request for rezoning from agriculture to R1, and that was approved. We had a brief recess and then reconvened and reviewed Leonard's Home's proposal for rezoning from County R1 to Alexander Ridge PUD, and that passed.
Okay. All right. Consent agenda. At this time, if any council member would like to pull any of the items off the consent agenda for more discussion, we may do so. If not, I'll take a recommendation to approve the consent agenda.
I just have one question for Beth. On the CSX agreement, being the railroad that it is, it's pretty one-sided, but they require in their agreement that it's everything's interpreted according to the laws of, is it Duluth County, Florida, I think, where their headquarters is? Is there any big problem with that? The laws are the same as they are here, Beth, or you don't know?
I don't know what the laws are in Florida. If we attempt to negotiate with CSX, it probably won't go very far.
No.
So fingers crossed that we don't need to have litigation in Florida.
That's pretty much you do what they say, they do it, and we pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No other discussion on entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
There's been a first and second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, next up on the agenda is a request to reduce sewer connection fees by Mr. Josh Plank. See here, there you are, Josh.
Good evening. My wife has ghosted me. She's out in the parking lot on a phone call, so she's supposed to be up here talking. So I think everybody's familiar with the situation. We've had some delays in the ability to connect our house, our old house, to sewer, and we're just looking for any help that the council or town would give in reducing the connection, the tap fees. I think we've been impacted financially more than we anticipated, and we're just looking for assistance in that.
Aren't we prohibited by code from reducing sewer connection fee?
We are prohibited by code from waiving a sewer fee. And I think he's requesting a reduction in sewer fee.
Yes, so I guess the question would be, what would your reduction, what do you think is fair reduction amount?
Whatever the town's willing to do. Anything would be appreciated. So.
And in that situation, did you have to, did we pay, or did he pay, or who paid for the boring underneath 900 and connection there?
I had Lennar, as part of Somerton Section 4,
Okay.
provide a connection point for him. So Lennar provided that at my request.
So he didn't pay for the connection or the
No.
boring or anything underneath?
He did not.
So it's just really the connection from the street to his house that we're talking about?
He's responsible for that, and then what he's asking about is the $4,500
Right.
sewer availability fee, which is basically, it's the capacity charge for our plant. So it's the treatment charge. That's what he's asking.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look back from, I mean, that was a pretty long process, if I remember correctly, right? Development-wise, and from the time he first requested annexation in and then connection, how, do we remember what the time period was and what we kind of committed to?
Well, I mean, we waited for the free connection, so we had to wait for the development to get to that phase to be able to bore under the road. Yeah, Mr. Plank could have ran a connection anytime he wanted, but I wouldn't have done that either. I would have waited for the
Yeah, it's
connection that
free
the
connection.
developer was going to put in for me. Part of it took a little longer than normal, but it's because we had to wait for the development to get across the street and then bore it as part of their install.
And the issue came up when one of the tiles coming from his property was intercepted by the Alexander Ridge detention pond, and it was discovered that there was some septic material coming out from that tile.
Okay.
So that made it an issue that he had to connect because it was a failing septic.
Was that tile on his property?
It ran from his property onto the Alexander Ridge property.
So the
it-
tile
during-
that was damaged was on an adjoiner's property,
Correct.
but
Well,
it was
it-
connected to,
when we say damaged, Alexander Ridge excavated a pond and exposed that tile.
you know, and that was your pipe
Yes.
connected to your home, but it was on an adjoiner's parcel?
I believe
It tied into another tile that was
Yeah.
running
The
across
previous
farm
homeowner
tile.
owned all 160 acres or whatever there. And at some point, before we purchased the home, I assume their system failed, and they did it themselves, and that's where it ended up at. Obviously, I didn't know that when the property was purchased, and I learned that after mowing the yard for 5 or 6 years, and you find the green stripes, right? And the green stripe exited the property, so that's kind of where we're at.
How's I guess I'm confused, how's the delay in connection financially impact you guys? I'm missing that.
Because we have built a new home, and we're interested in selling this property immediately, like
I was missing
last
that piece.
year immediately.
The old house is the key word, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're sitting on the home, can't sell the home.
correct.
We're roughing $5,000-6,000 in mortgage payments right now, and a
Gotcha.
portion of it's for this delayed by this.
Okay.
Is there an estimate of how long, I know that we didn't have an exact date of when that would be completed, but just a rough estimate of how long the delay from when we expected it to be done to the time that it got completed?
I will say that we gave an estimate, but we did qualify it. It was not something that was under the town's control. It was
Right.
based on the construction of the adjacent. So we did qualify that when we informed them, and we had I think it was originally estimated that it was finished in September, and I believe it was finished in November, something like that. But again, it wasn't in the town's control. Estimates were provided based on Lennar's timing.
All right, so if you took $4,500 and divide that by 12 months, and there was and let's just say it was a 3-month delay from what we expected to when it was finished, I mean, you could, if you can't waive the fee, but there might be a reduction of like $1,000 to $1,100 roughly. You could justify by saying that if you really wanted to as a council. But I mean, as far as the petitioner, and they haven't come with a number, I'm just saying if you're looking at a pro rata situation here.
Well, wasn't the delay due to the fact that they did not want to pay the connection, for running the pipes under the ground? Boring under the road?
I don't think there was a place for them to connect, was there,
No.
at the time?
There were other options. They could have connected into Stone Grove, but it would have been much more expensive to do that.
Right.
It would have required them to purchase a grinder pump and have it extended over. And gravity was the much more sensible. It was just that there was the timing of when Somerton 4 would be completed.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? So, Josh, what are you guys asking for? I mean, you said you want help, but I mean, you're asking us to pull a number. I'm not sure. That's in our.
I mean, I'd like to see the 1,100 taken off, but that's a long shot. I mean, that's one mortgage payment, so.
Yeah, that takes the sting off a little bit.
Yeah.
Beth, if we reduce it, is that considered a waiver of part of the fee, or is that completely different than a waiver? What's that really say or mean?
Well, the local ordinance is, I think, one sentence long and says we are not allowed to waive. So that would be subject to interpretation, but I would anticipate that that means eliminate. I cannot take away.
One
But
thing I
again, it's
noticed
subject-
on there was the no free service, so that's kind of what I wondered.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's what I remember finding on this line.
Well, it's a slippery slope. A lot of citizens.
But no, whatever you do, you're likely setting precedents for.
Right. And I just don't know if I want to get our council in every time we have a connection fee. I understand everybody's situation is different, but you're right, Beth. I mean, eventually we're setting a precedent, but I do feel for, it was you know, an unprepared or unseen circumstance for you guys. I get that. So, I can't make a motion, but any that we're guidance, so, anybody on the council is more than welcome to make a motion to accept or deny, the request for $1,100 reduction fee.
So if we make that motion, when we set the precedence, does that mean we have to allow that on any future request?
I would say, yeah, if somebody wants, I mean, they're always welcome to petition the council, but, I mean, I don't think we can ever deny somebody by saying, hey, you know, I'll come and say, we can't say no to that, but,
It's gonna always be on a case-by-case
Yeah.
basis and what is presented, but, I mean, we have to treat everybody equally. So if we authorize it and the circumstances are similar, then
And the
there's
town-
less
Yeah.
ability to say no later.
And the town we didn't do anything wrong, right? We're saying Lennar built it and they were behind a couple months because of whatever, because of construction stuff.
Yeah, there wasn't any a delay by the town. Matter of fact, I would consider this a value that the town provided to the property owner because Lennar did bore that lateral under the road so that the property owner did not have to bear that expense, which could have been anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 in savings that they had from that.
Can I say, when I was presented when I was asked to annex, so that the town didn't have a hole in their annexation, I contemplated that heavily for some time and decided that the monies received from selling the right-of-way would be sufficient to cover the cost of hooking, you know, paying the tap fee and paying a plumber to connect the house. And that the math didn't work out in my favor because of, I feel like, 2 or 3 months of delays. I got the green light to connect, to accept flow right in November when the ground was frozen. So I was having trouble finding somebody to even come out and give me a quote to dig because nobody's working when the ground's froze. So I feel like I'm out a couple months, and I feel like I've been wronged, basically. I'm on the losing end of the deal, and that really wasn't part of the plan.
I think for us, the most frustrating thing is we didn't know that where our septic was going at that point, like you said. And then when the pond was dug and it was evident we have Plan B, we reached out and we worked with you guys, and we could have ultimately paid less to get a new septic put in and not annexed and not, so we've tried to work with the town on those things. So I think that's what's frustrating is we could have sold it in August and
No, I definitely feel for you guys. Like I said, I mean, I think the best we would be able to do it would be that, but again, you're setting precedent. It's up to whether the council wants to set the precedent and take on case-by-case basis.
I think because of the circumstance, I'm comfortable making a motion to do a one-time discounted rate of $11.25, or discounting it by $11.25 for the connection fee, just because of the unique circumstances that you guys have went through.
There's been a first, is there a second?
I'll second it. The annexing's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a first and second to reduce the connection fee from $4,500 by $1,125 for the Plank residents. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay?
Nay.
Roll call, please.
Greg Brewer,
Yay.
Brian Burney,
Nay.
Scott Jones,
Yay.
Chad Gooding,
Yay.
John Price.
Nay.
Okay. That's it. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, next order of business is a discussion on animal control services. I believe Commissioner Jeanine Gray is, and County Councilwoman Mary No.
I'm just here
You're just handing out? Okay, you're not speaking.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just listening.
Well, we're just glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you to Tim for getting us on so quickly. Janine Gray with Hancock County Government, along with Mary No, Mayor Guy Titus, and City Council President John Jester were called away to another meeting. I do have a letter I can read to you from both of them, or from the mayor if you need. A little history on animal control. There was a first interlocal agreement that was formed between the county and the city of Greenfield back in 2009. Together, the city of Greenfield and the county has covered all animal control expenses since that time. The county also exhibits, just as we did with countywide radios for all the fire departments last year, we also bought capital product vehicles and outfitted those. So, all that being said, we are here to talk about their operating budget for 2026. The numbers you have in front of you that you can barely read were put together by Animal Control along with E911, who also tracks animal control calls. Those numbers pretty much for the town of McCordsville stayed flat over the years, but yet there is a need for animal control in the town. Traditionally, the county did just the unincorporated areas. And back in the day when this all started, McCordsville was a very small community with very little growth. Well, that's all changed now. So, needless to say, we are here to ask you to pay your fair share in animal control beginning in 2026. These numbers are representative through December of 2025. If you go to that second page, that is the percentage and breakdown of usage and the dollar amount based on their annual operating budget. We're not asking for any capital to be engaged in that. The county will continue to work with the city of Greenfield. And your fee in 2026 would be $56,910. That's based off of 2024 numbers. So that's where we are today. You can choose to opt out of that and seek animal control services elsewhere, or we can talk about an engagement with an interlocal agreement between the town of McCordsville and every other municipality in the county. This is just not McCordsville. This is everyone that we'll be reaching out to over the next. But we wanted to get to you early enough because we're going into the budgeting season now, and you will want to, if you choose to continue with animal management and animal control through the city and the county, you'll want to put that in your budget for 2026.
Do you have an
So
extra
are
copy
these-
for staff by any chance?
Pardon?
Do you have an extra copy for staff by any chance?
Oh, sure. They're in my purse, Mary.
We'll share.
Okay, so when they're, how are they tracking their data? Is it by zip code?
Yes.
Okay, so my concern is we're showing 60, but we have a lot of unincorporated.
You do? You do. And
That's not, has a
this is,
McCordsville, has a
this is,
McCordsville address.
this is only incorporated,
So
right
thi-
here.
So these 60
These
are
incor-
the
Incorporated
incorporated, okay,
numbers.
okay, so, because we get some, some
Because
of
if
them-
you have someone that lives at a McCordsville address,
Right.
but it's in the unincorporated area, the county's going to cover that. This is for the incorporated areas only, and that is the same for Fortville, McCordsville, New Palestine, and the other smaller communities dotted around the county.
do they track, do you know,
Absolutely.
habitual callers?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
What I'm thinking is, this is a big number, and I've got somebody in our community, let's say, calls 7, out of these 60, they're 10 of those phone calls, complaints and coming out. I mean, they become now a cost and a burden, an unnecessary burden to the town. I mean, that's almost $950 a run when you look at it.
And they are very well oiled machine at animal management. Amanda does a good job of tracking everything. They send their notices for, I'm not sure what exactly they call, but it's basically a ticket that they have to pay. And up until about 2-3 months ago, those were going unwarranted, and no one was enforcing that. Today, they are enforcing that, and with the help of an attorney, so that those fines are going to be paid now going forward.
Would those fines go to our costs, like in the 56K?
It could, depending on the interlocal agreement that you would have between the city of Greenfield and the town of
So this comes
McCordsville.
out to almost $1,000 a call?
That was your percentage.
Well, like 3 calls
Mm-hmm.
and Shirley is $2,835. That's almost $1,000 a call.
We are talking about, there's a lot of things that are going into this. The mileage between
Tell me what's
Greenfield-
going into that
Yeah,
$1,000.
that is your call rate.
60 calls.
So is a call actually a trip out, or is that a phone call?
It's
Or both.
probably both, probably a combination of both. But we met with the city of Greenfield, and this is the way we're going to handle animal management going forward. So, you're more than welcome.
You're just explaining. So if we have a combination of phone calls and runs,
Mm-hmm. These are runs.
Okay.
Okay.
so there's no phone calls in here.
Well,
A call means going out to an address.
this is a run. This is where they're coming from the city of
Well,
Greenfield.
it says calls, so are
That
there
would be
phone
a call.
calls in here?
No.
No, the phone calls are extra
Yeah.
because there's always a call before a run.
Yeah.
Right.
So is the city of, I guess my question is, city of Greenfield open to, you said there'd be a talk about an interlocal, would they be entertain a per call or per run fee?
We had discussed that early on, and that's something that we could discuss.
Like a subcontract, to me, I look at 60 runs, or calls, it's 5 a month out here. And, you kind of go back and look at the data in 2023, we were at 39, in 2022, 48, so, if.
And I imagine your number, Greg, is going to increase with the increased population out here in
Right,
McCordsville.
but I'm just thinking from if we, you don't want to get into we have no control over this. Once we say, yeah, we're going to participate, we're kind of subject to every year Greenfield's, and who's deciding on the annual budget? Greenfield?
They write their budget.
Right.
And like this year, our share, which paid for you, Fortville, was $456,000.
Right, but we're at the mercy now of the Greenfield City Council when they put this budget together.
And the county,
And-
really.
Yeah, and the county, and coming back and said, well, we've decided your share is this now. And what do we have as the council say, well, you know what, we don't want to pay that share anymore.
They're just
How do we get out of that?
You would be an annual interlocal agreement.
So we'd have, it's an annual revisit.
That's how
revisiting.
I believe that the city would set it up. That's how the county has it right now.
Okay.
We have an annual interlocal agreement that is
You review
reviewed annually.
Okay.
I think those are due in June. So I think is with the calendar that they use. So,
Mr. Gray, a couple questions, probably for Greenfield, actually. How many employees does the department have?
I think they have 10 now. They had 4.
Wow.
It probably isn't enough.
I guess, yeah, is it possible for us to see a breakdown of the $1 million budget? And I'm assuming that does that include salary for that then?
Oh, that includes everything.
The vehicles, the gas, the employees, the
Insurance, liability,
Yeah, if we
everything.
could see a breakdown of the animal control budget.
We could
that'd be
probably
helpful.
provide that for you.
We have some time. so.
Well, we had in March, from our police report, 2,168 runs where a police car went out with a police officer, okay? At $1,000 a run, extrapolated to a year, that's $26 million a year for our police department if they were paid at the same rate. Something is discrepant here. Just saying, I'm just
Well,
doing the
you know,
math.
your police chief could become
is
your
it-
new dog catcher, so.
At 26 million, he probably would. That's way more
You know,
than-
I don't think
than-
you want to, I don't think you want to burden him with that,
But
but
I'm
this is,
I'm
this is
just-
an honest breakdown of what the
I'm just
dollars and
saying
cents
it
are
costs way
taking.
more than our policemen to go out to a person's home.
Does this include the animal shelter operations as well?
Everything,
Well, I didn't know if that was a
Everything.
separate entity or
no,
not. It's-
everything but capital.
To run that whole operation.
Gotcha, so the animal shelter.
Everything but
the
capital.
runs.
We'll bring it back.
Food.
Try to rehome it or what, whatever it is.
Well, has there been any discussion at the county level of centralizing this and making this a county
No.
department?
No, not at all.
I'm thinking, Hamlin County, they have Hamlin County control, animal control, and paid by the county taxes,
Now, the county allows a large number of animals per residence. And when our residents ask how many they can have, they cite the county, which I believe says they can have 6 dogs.
That's probably true, yeah.
It is, and 6 dogs gives you a lot of runs. We have refrained from limiting the numbers of pets, deferring to the county. Is the county open to limiting the number of animals then?
You know, that hasn't been a discussion, but that's something that could be visited. You know, I don't know that we want to tell people they can't have 10 cats or 10 dogs. You know, me, I live in Shirley and we have 1,000 rabbits running around. And to know, with no animal management.
Does animal control go out on rabbit runs?
No, I wish they did.
So would this interlocal agreement be between us and the county or between us and and Greenfield?
The city, just as the county would.
Because, if I go back and I look at this, and I take an average of the 3 years, 2024, 2023, 2022, we're averaging 49 runs, which would make our fair share $21,428.
Okay.
Because if we're going to just base it off one number, I don't think that's fair to
Okay,
do.
well, I can take that back to the city
Yeah,
and see if they buy into that.
Because I look at
before-
historical data, I mean, and I would be willing to say, okay, listen, we like to look into a 3-year, if we're gonna do an interlocal in a 3-year average, and then that way, if our runs start to increase, then obviously we ought to be paying more, but if our runs are decreasing out here, then I think that would be a way for us to track the data versus going, 2024 could have been an anomaly year. I don't know. I mean, I'm going back and looking at some of these numbers. Back in
It was high
2017, 49.
everywhere.
In 2017 it was 49. 18 we were 69, but then we dropped back down to 49, 46, 31. So I'm just saying it's if we were consistent in the 60s, I would probably say, yeah, that's justifiable, but I'm looking at it over a historical period.
And I think we'd like to see just some of the data from Greenfield. We'd like to see some of the data on the runs. Are they straight, is it our officers calling for assistance versus just a resident calling in?
I'm pretty sure that between E911 and animal management, they can break that down even further.
Yeah, I'm sure they can.
Yeah.
We just like to see it as we're
Right.
analyzing what
The only
right
reason
route
we're
is to
here
go.
tonight is to tell you that outside of the unincorporated area, the county's not going to pay anymore. Okay?
That's we need to know that, right? And we got
Absolutely. Your budget is coming up.
and we've got to look at all of our options.
Mm-hmm.
Are we allowed to even talk? Let's just say hypothetically, say well, we're not going to pay this Greenfield. Okay, thanks, but can we enter into service? A run by run with Lawrence Animal Control. I don't
You
know.
may
if
be
we're allowed
able
I don't
to.
know if we're able to do that or not. I don't know.
I bet you we could hire 2 local vets to do
But
it.
some local bits. But also, I'd also like to
Run.
talk with with those guys and say, listen, I know you came up with last year. You're using it based off last year's number, but my concern is, and this is outside your guys' control at the county level, is let's say 2025 we only have 32 runs, calls out here, and then 2026, but we're still paying $56,000, $60,000. I would like to be able to say to that group, I want a reduction in our rate.
Well, that's just like the county's been doing since 2009. We've paid for all the unincorporated and the incorporated areas, and we just can't do that anymore.
No, I understand from a budget standpoint, you can't. But I think,
cannot.
the city's kind of got us, I would say, a little bit held hostage.
You know, they're approaching this very positively. And, you know, I mean, we have a committee based on the sheriff, myself, and Jim Shelby from the county council that have been studying animal control and how we can help reduce our costs going forward. Because we are currently paying for the unincorporated areas, which we need to do, but we're also paying for the incorporated areas. And this was the best case scenario based on the information we had in 2024. We can't, with the growth in New Pal, Fortville, McCordsville, I can't see it going backwards. It could, but it may go the other direction.
What is their contingency plan? I mean, you know, if New Pal, Fortville, McCordsville, you know, the bigger municipalities, I don't think Wilkinson and Shirley are probably, on Spring Lake are going to be completely against it. But if they say, hey, you know, we're not going to do this, what is their contingency plan in terms of, you know, they got a little over $1 million budget, and those numbers come out, who's going to pick up the slack? Are they going to cut their budget, or are they going to ask the county for more money?
We'll probably continue to split their budget because we are entered in good faith with
okay.
the city of Greenfield. And, but if they're not running out to McCordsville, and they're not running to New Palestine, and they're not running to Fortville, their budget will automatically just self-reduce.
Okay.
The wear and tear on the vehicles, the mileage, the distance between Greenfield and the greater areas will still continue absolutely to cover the unincorporated areas.
And you might not know the answer. Who's their city attorney?
Greg Morlock.
Is it Morlock? Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, this isn't just something we're going to pass a resolution. This would obviously
course,
be
yeah.
an interlocal, so we're going to need
Right.
to have our town attorney and their city attorney see what, draw up an
Absolutely.
interlocal and see, and then get presented to the council. I mean, I appreciate you coming and giving us
Well,
a number.
and-
It's a sticker shock, you know?
Yeah. You know, to me, it wasn't sticker shock, but we're writing checks for $456,000 a year, you know, so $56,000 to me wasn't sticker shock, nor $33,200 for the other slightly smaller municipalities within Hancock County.
Right. Well, you know, and I want to be able to work with them and say, listen, if we're going to shell out almost $950 per animal call, I want some way of us recouping some of those if we have an abusive, you know, somebody who's abusing the system.
Yeah, and there are those all over the county.
Right. And so, okay, so now that I know it's a $950 expense roughly, and I have somebody who continually calls and they're, I will just say, got a neighbor with a barking dog. It's not, an animal control comes out. It's a run. This is not saying these are 60, I'm pulling them off and taking them to the shelter, or a stray. This is 60 runs out to McCordsville, the animal control. And I've got somebody who's abusing the system. We should be able to have a way to go back and recoup some of our costs.
Well, they have a fine structure right now. Do you know like what the average fine is?
I do not. I think they've collected around $8,600.
Okay. So it's not significant.
It's not significant. But it could be if it was properly enforced going forward, and they're working very hard at that. But, you know, my message to you folks here today is that these are the best numbers that we had to work with. They're accurate. They're from Animal Management themselves, the City of Greenfield, along with the E911 Center, who does an immaculate job of tracking each and every call. So
does a great job. Yeah, the group.
they do a great job. And so what we'd like to do is, because it's getting harder and harder for the county to handle all the incorporated areas as well, and the City of Greenfield. So maybe the next best thing is to have you in for a discussion with the city and the county and,
What's that?
Let's get some data.
Yeah, let's get, I mean, we need to get the data. We need to be able to sit down and I mean, we've to me, we have, when's our budget due, Stephanie? The state, October?
Yes.
All right, so we've got we really need to get something down.
We probably want to get this kind of locked in summertime.
You will.
Yeah.
Summertime.
Mary,
So
you'll
you-
wanna
Because there's going to be
set your budget for the
negotiation on the
county by
interlocal on the details, so.
July.
You guys are approving your budget by July, is that it?
Well, it's in top shape by
Right.
July.
Yeah.
Mhm,
We're
absolutely.
usually pretty far along by July, August ourselves, so.
But, I mean, we need to sit down and definitely, if we're gonna enter.
Well, the big unknown this year, obviously, is what's happening down at the State House. So
Yeah.
everyone's budget's a little in flux right now, but we'll just put this on the list and,
Yeah.
you know,
Without
end of April,
property
we'll
tax, I
know.
mean, we're probably all gonna end up being the dog catchers, so. you know,
Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day,
Right.
Commissioner Gray, and
Just,
coming here.
just to reiterate, you know, the county will continue to cover your unincorporated areas of McCordsville, but beginning in 2026, we won't. You may want to talk to Fishers, you may want to talk to Lawrence to see what they can do.
The thing is, when you break down cost per run, okay?
It's expensive.
If we could talk, let's just say, you know, we have to look at our options, but if I can go to Lawrence and they'll say, listen, it's $600 a run, and we do it, you know, okay, now we know what we're budgeting, and we can use some of this data or Chief Casey's data. Say, okay, we're gonna budget 60,000, you know, a year for 100 runs, and then carry that money over if we need to. I don't know. I don't know what's the most
you put
efficient way for McCordsville residents, but, you know, the other thing is, if we can work with Greenfield and say, okay, we'll take a 3-year running average and use that as the way for what we charge.
And that could drop it some.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could drop it
'Cause
some. I can't engage in their business
No,
side of it.
you're not their negotiator.
I am not,
But you know, there's a big spike from 39 to 60 from 2023 to 2024, and that's why, looking back, we can go to look at the historical data and say, okay, here's the average over that period. That's, you know.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want to go back to 217 to get an average. That's
No,
just
but-
too long ago.
No, but if they'd be over with the 3-year or 2-year average kind of a thing, that might be more.
I'll take that back
equitable.
to them, configure it, and then to see where we go from there, how the city feels about that. Like I said, I can't speak for them. All I can speak for is the county, and we're still going to cover your unincorporated areas just as we always have.
I have one other question for you on a different subject a little bit. Thanks for coming and explaining, but I had people taking down campaign signs after the last election, and I have a few Janine Gray or Commissioner signs. Do you want them back?
No.
I'll bring them back to you if you want them.
No, I appreciate
All right.
that, Mr. Bernie, but no. No.
Well,
My garage is full. But thank you.
All right.
well, we appreciate you coming in tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for the information.
You bet.
All right, moving on. We got no old business. First order of new business, we have an amendment to the construction management contract with Brandt Construction. This is a guaranteed maximum price. This is the town hall project. Tim, do you want to give
I'll
us?
kick off and then I'll let Audra kind of jump in with
Okay.
the actual information. We're having some computer issues right now with Duo letting us in. So there is a presentation. You can click it on your link to kind of see it, but it breaks down the numbers a little better. What we're actually looking to approve tonight is the guaranteed maximum price, which is an amendment to the Brandt Construction contract, all 64 pages, which is an AIA form, so pretty standard language, guaranteeing maximum price, which we had bid out all the subcontractors. So this is all the subcontracts coming back in, one amendment that, or alternate that we put in there. So why I kind of hit the caution flag on my Friday report was this number's right around the $1 million, which we expected, but we have some other things for the long-term needs of the building to, that kind of go beyond that. Looks like we're in now, so we can kind of walk through what those are. We don't think the number that we propose is the number, we have some options for that beyond. So when you're approving the guaranteed maximum price, you're only approving the million something. These other, these other items we talk about will come back to you one at a time because they'll all be over our $10,000 threshold. So like when we want to run the gas line, that'll be like $75,000. We'll bring a CenterPoint Energy quote to you guys to approve prior to doing that. And because they break out of this contract, there's actually like furniture could be paid out of CCD if we have money, and there's other options for some of these other expenses towards
So
the
we're
building.
talking buildings and furnishings in these numbers?
Yeah, so we'll walk through.
We'll
a
walk,
little
yeah,
bit.
we'll walk through that. So I tried to break that down because what I never want to do is end up where we don't fully understand all the costs that are associated with a project. There is the specific scope of work which Charles C. Brandt is handling, and that is going to be your $1 million. So if we go to this next slide, that's where, quick recap for you. Here's things that we've done. I was here a month ago. We talked about where we are in the project. This gives you a recap. I call out the key scope items on this page just because this looks at a few of the things that we've added in for the long-term viability of the building that maybe when we originally contemplated the project weren't fully fleshed out. So replacing the HVAC and bringing in that natural gas connection. We are putting a generator in as part of this so that this building also has that backup power option, particularly relative to, I believe there was a council meeting or a committee meeting that had to
ARC,
be
I
canceled
believe.
because it didn't have power. So this room will be covered in the generator. Looking at how we handle the sprinkler system here, there's some things we need to consider re-energizing versus removing. And then, of course, we always like to note that we're going to gain another meeting space as part of this. So our next steps, so we're here today about the GMP, and then we'll be also talking about VE. So here's where we really try to make sure that we fully flesh out and kind of break out for everyone the things that are included and not included in that guaranteed maximum price. So you have a guaranteed maximum price from Brandt Construction of $1,076,018. So those are all the bid subcontracts. That's your demolition, that's your carpet, that's your wall rebuild, your doors, the really hard physical construction costs of doing the work in this building. That number includes their fee and the general conditions which were originally agreed upon with them. Then those things that start to add on to that million are things that are going to be the furniture, the approximate $75,000 for that natural gas line, AV and IT security consultants that have been working on the project, those other quote-unquote soft or pre-development costs, pre-project costs, pre-construction that are going on. When we put all those together right now, we are in the $1.3 to $1.4 million range. As Tim said, we're going to start breaking these out in more detail. We're going to start looking at where we might be able to use some other budget funds, but we're also going to go through looking at the plan in more detail and looking for opportunities for value engineering. We brought Brandt in. This project was urgent to get going. We put it right out to bid to see where we were because that was the next phase in the project. We're going to take a moment to go through VE, make sure that we're reducing and efficiently spending that money while still accomplishing project goals.
I think there's two important facts to that too. So we have an agreement with them on savings.
Yes.
That any savings on the project get split 70% come back to the town, 30% to Brandt, which we like because there's incentive on both sides to do a good job, and then we're still recouping. For the VE, because we came to you with a guaranteed maximum price, we don't really want to delay the project if we don't have to. They have agreed to take any VE savings and put it into contingency for the project.
So that will not be
part of the 70-30 split.
Yes, correct. That will not be part of the 70-30 split. We will run that as a $0, technically speaking, that will run as a $0 change order to the project where we will delineate every line item shift and then show that moving into a contingency line. That contingency per the contract returns all to McCordsville should any of that be left.
If we don't use it.
If we don't use it. So we've really tried to make sure, and then we've set a goal of where we would like to be, and that is in alignment with where, it's pretty close to where we wanted to be when we talked about this last month. And that what this does is it also protects a good amount of dollars for the community center project, which is running about 2 months behind this one. And so we want to make sure that in that larger big picture of somewhere around 3 million to 3.3 million, that we're protecting what we think we need and want for the community center. We have been doing estimating on that on the side. this is continuing to be a piece where we're moving back and forth, but we're monitoring it really closely and ensuring that we're hitting those numbers. I included some information from before just in case it's helpful, or some more different ways to break that down, but just wanted to have this available if you had any additional questions.
Well, on furnishings, are we looking at all new in Town Hall?
When we took a first pass, we looked at a lot of new, not all new. We've since further pulled that back to look at where it is in a critical need. And one of the things, the ad alternate that is actually in the bid and is incorporated in that $1,076,000, looks at how we can do some half wall builds, kind of like this, for less than we can bring in like cubicle partition
Cost
walls.
less than steel case.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cost less than steel case.
absolutely.
You said it.
Yeah, so they had walked through and evaluated every desk and chair, and we kind
Right.
of made a list, but the nice thing about the furniture is we can put that in any year's budget and
Well,
replace it as needed. So
we're-
that's
we're
one
gonna
spot we
use
can really
this
reduce.
Building as a town hall going forward, but at some point, we're gonna have a new town hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not to go too much in that rabbit hole, but we are working on, Mark will start the sewer master plan later this year, and we'll do a town hall feasibility. Again, the unknown of what happens at the State House makes everyone a little nervous. There is a scenario that we will look at that keeps this town hall, and there's a scenario where you could build additional DPW buildings a lot cheaper than a brand-new town hall and town center, and you could convert some of the bay space into office space.
Yeah.
And this stays town hall because it's probably a lot cheaper to renovate this a second time to our
So
future
this
needs.
could be a long-term town hall.
It could.
It
It's something
could
we should
also
absolutely
be
look
an
at.
interim town hall until we get another town hall,
Yeah.
and then it becomes
Throw some wrenches
Yeah.
into your
like
works.
sewer central. So
Yeah.
in terms of where the walls go, I think that's been thought through,
Yeah.
and we agree that building like half walls is less expensive than building cubicles
Yep.
out of steel case stuff that can be disassembled and so on.
Right.
If it's filing cabinets, I'm sure there's lots of repurposed filing cabinets out there that could
Plenty
be
of those.
electrostatic painted or something if need be.
Yeah.
But
We're that's definitely, furniture's top of the
I'm
list.
just drilling down into.
I think to Tim's
nitty-gritty,
point,
but-
there's some of the stuff in the FF&E that can be reduced or
We can
pushed down the
reduce, we can
road.
push it down the
Yeah.
road. We'll try to reuse
Yeah.
whatever we can furniture-wise, but like, the new meeting room needs furniture. It has none.
Well, I need
We
I
were
need
gonna
AV.
replace these chairs.
And
Maybe we
AV.
hold off till next year to replace these chairs.
Right.
Things like that.
Well, I
to-
guess you know how much
to
of it has to
reduce.
be new and how much what's available on the used market.
Yeah.
There's lots of used office furniture that's perfectly fine.
And
And
that's
it-
the easiest line item to kind of adjust. I
It
think.
is, and it's the line item where, because our efforts have been around getting this first part of the process done, it is the line item where we haven't spent as much time as we have on building plans and different things to get those ready. So that'll be an area that's really top of the list to dig even deeper into.
IT tech is your card readers and your
Yep.
cameras, so we got to integrate what was police card readers and cameras into the full functional system. Signage is, everybody has a, ADA door sign stating what they are, and general equipment's essentially your kitchen, your break room equipment, so
Yep.
that shouldn't be too significant. And that's
No.
another one where you could take that out of CCD or seeded or something else if you wanted to. So we feel much more comfortable that we'll able to get this down into the range we
Yes.
want it to be. And Stephanie and I and Kathy sat down this week and we're comfortable. We won't even need to do an additional appropriation. We had appropriated enough for this project. We'll have to do an adjustment, which we knew we'd have to do anyways for the community center because we had allocated money in '24 that we didn't have a contract for, so went back into the general. So we're comfortable moving forward. We think we'll be well within where we can cover this. And we also got to remember, we're not writing a $1.3 million check tomorrow. This is over months, so we're getting additional tax revenue in.
Well, tightening the screws a
During
bit is
this,
where I'm coming from. I'm
Yep.
looking at a $250,000 or whatever hole in Old School Park. I'm looking at maybe community center costing more than I thought. Now we're looking at this, what this is gonna cost. we're in a good financial position, but I want us to stay there.
And that's what we looked at too. We don't want to get any line item too tight, especially with the unknown going into 26. So that's
And, you know, it's
Exactly where we're
$1,000
at.
a dog run, too.
All right, any action we need to take on this, or this information only?
what we're looking for is approval of the amendment to the
Contract
contract
bid.
with Brandt,
Yes.
which inserts the guaranteed maximum price, which is that $1,076,018.
Correct.
All right,
And then it looks like I'm the one that's authorized to sign it.
you're
in
the
document.
author, okay. All right, so entertain a motion for town manager to sign the AIA contract with Brandt Construction with the guaranteed maximum price amendment.
So moved.
Second.
There you go. There's been a first and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next order of business is first reading and a public hearing on ordinance number 031125, an ordinance vacating public right-of-way. This was, Ryan, if I'm correct, this was from a petitioner who is seeking development in that area.
That is correct, and I think, I'm not sure who's speaking tonight, but Morgan's speaking. Come up to the podium if you could, introduce yourself, tell us who you're with, and then kind of explain your request, if you don't mind.
Good evening. I'm Morgan Hyam with Midland Atlantic Properties here representing Matt McCord for our application of the vacation of Indiana Street to the west of our proposed development. Here's the aerial map. This is a quick service restaurant with a drive-through just west of the new Culver's. This site plan shows our portion of the right-of-way of Indiana Street included in the plan. This vacating Indiana Street allows for a safe and doable site plan that we've discussed with Ryan and Mark a few times, and the tenant is also happy with.
Closer view for you there.
There's the site plan. A little bit easier to see the drive-through on the south side, 24-foot drive aisles and 19-foot parking spaces. And then this also shows about a 5-foot side yard setback on the west side. Vacating Indiana Street will also eliminate that curb cut on Broadway Street. The access from Broadway into our site would stay the same. And then we're also showing an access point on the north side onto Railroad Street.
Are you guys willing, or is it in the plans of right-of-way acquisition if we want to make South Railroad Street widen that? Is that already in there, or would that be something we'd have to do down the road?
That's something we would do down the road when this project petitioner for the development would come forward. We would seek that right-of-way via commitment through the BZA.
Okay.
I guess conversely-
Is there any objections from the petitioner on that down the road?
No.
How much right-of-way is there on South Railroad currently that we have?
Do you know off the top of your head, Mark?
And if it's like 2 lanes, how wide can the lanes be?
I'm not positive off the top of my head. I mean, the pavement width there, the existing pavement width is, yeah, it's very narrow. What we did at the Culver's is widen it to 20 feet.
Would that be adequate enough to make it two-way traffic?
Yes.
So that'd be 10-foot lanes?
How much right-of-way would be required from us? if
Well, I'm not an
that's-
engineer, so you get it. That's that guy
Mark?
right there.
That's what I'm getting at.
We established what the plan was with the Culver's, but I'm not positive off the top of my head.
So we might have to acquire right-of-way from this parcel to make South Railroad wider?
Correct.
Yes.
We would ask for them to donate the right of way necessary.
Yeah, why would we vacate it if,
Not paying for it.
No, that's the difference between, we're talking about South Railroad Street, acquiring right-of-way there, vacating Indiana
Well, if we're
Street.
giving up half of Indiana, which is going to their parcel, I don't want to have to come back and buy part of a parcel to widen our road later.
This is our standard process that we
Yeah.
request the
I don't think
right of way necessary.
So it's
before
not
we
gonna be a
go through the
problem.
approval
The
process.
petitioner,
No.
I think,
And you're agreeable to that?
would, okay.
Well, didn't Culver's put in that
Yes.
chunk of South
Yes.
Railroad?
And it would follow a similar process for this development, but that's not what they're here
No,
today to
they're asking for the
request.
vacation, but
Yeah,
I'm
we're trying
I'm
to
looking at the
look at
site plan too.
Need the
So-
big picture.
Yeah.
To understand everything.
yeah.
We're
Okay.
focusing on this one, I understand.
I kind of want to know how the whole thing's going to fit together here. There's a lot of other things, pieces on South Railroad too, and there's also an adjoiner to their parcel who's
Oh,
may be affected. So we need to get all the pieces together and see what, like the grand plan is here. Otherwise, we do this piece and that piece, and then we wind up with a piece we can't do.
okay.
I'd like to see where the whole thing's kind of going before I,
Well, this looks like
Give up our alley.
with the vacation, your site plan, you're amicable to donating down the road for your site improvements, is what you're saying, so, okay.
do you have a dumpster in there?
There is a dumpster.
Where's that?
There's a patio on the back side of the building, and the dumpster's right there.
And there's room to get the truck in and out of there?
What's that?
Yep, this site plan has been reviewed and approved by the user.
Just one number. Okay.
So just procedurally tonight, this is first reading on the the vacation request and a public hearing. If this were to move forward, staff would request a minimum of 30 days prior to bringing this back for second reading, so the town would have the appropriate time to remove any of the existing asphalt remnants of Indiana Street prior to final action, because once it's vacated, we have no longer any rights to enter onto
Yeah.
that property.
And we've been in discussions with both neighbors on either side of us, the Culver's operator and then Dr. Harbin on our west side, and
Okay. Any concerns or thoughts from them to you guys that have you worked
well-
everything out, or?
I think so. That's our goal. We want to be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
And we want to create a cohesive development here with Culver's. We've been talking to them for a while now, just about the same time we started talking to Ryan and Mark. So we would share an access point off Broadway, and then we want to provide some sort of buffer too for Dr. Harbin if that's what he desires for his pets.
Okay. All right, any other questions for the petitioner? This time? All right,
Where
thank
do we
you.
stand with NDOT?
Well, okay. NDOT is supportive of the vacation of Indiana Street.
Do they have any concerns with the access off of Broadway?
We've completed the traffic study that was submitted to NDOT the end of January for this new development to include both Culver's and our tenant.
Did they
And has-
replied back to you?
We're
yet?
working on it. We've
Okay.
received some responses slowly, but no official comments back from them.
That is what we have heard as well.
Yeah, NDOT's always a concern, right? Because Culver's had issues with them.
I would just say it's NDOT's road, so of course they need to be involved, and we'll continue to coordinate with them as this project, if it moves forward, we'll continue to coordinate it so that we get to a point where our local approvals for the project are following the same timeline as the NDOT approvals for the project. Again, that is completely separate from the
Vacation.
Indiana Street
Right.
vacation.
Yeah, and that process will go through Plan Commission and all that as they proceed, correct?
Yeah, this project's going to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals,
BZA.
and then eventually the Plan Commission as well, and
Okay.
ARC. So
Okay.
it's going to be, we're going to have lots of meetings.
All right, great. All right, well, thank you, and with that, I'll open up the public hearing. So if anybody has any thoughts, concerns, comments, please come up. I had you written down that you would be, Dr. Arbor. Come on up.
This is like my second year anniversary here for this.
It seems like it. It does, yes.
It is, almost to the date. Scott Harbin, Harbin. I've been in discussions with town management as well as the developer. And as far as the development side's concerned, have no major concerns from that. I think my biggest concern at this point truly comes down to a timing issue as much as anything else. And I think Dr. Burney said it best, I'm concerned about it being piecemeal, where all of a sudden something's left out and one road doesn't get finished or something changes there. And then I'm stuck in a tough place as far as my services. Even going to Ryan's point where she had the one that was the Google Maps, if you could pull that back up, where he just mentioned, hey, if we do the first read, ideally want to get Indiana Street removed in that 30-day time before the second read. Well, my dumpster's still sitting here. So to say, hey, we're gonna identify a temporary spot for the dumpster and get a pad poured or gravel brought in where it can be picked up and accessed in that 30-day time, depending on weather, things of that nature, is that feasible? Is that possible? I don't know, to be quite honest with you, basically. So some of it is the logistic timing of that issue. Some of it truly comes down from a standpoint of, you guys are widening South Railroad down to 2 lanes, it comes back down to 1 lane here. And I know there's plans to say, hey, can we widen South Railroad all the way to 2 lanes down to Broadway where it exits now? And I think that's a great master plan. My concern is that's relying on other property owners that may or may not be interested in
Are
doing
you
that.
interested in all and allowing, or with the right of way to extend, if we're able to work with that petitioner, to get 2 lanes of Railroad Street at a minimum down to the end of your property to the west?
Yeah, absolutely, and take it to the end of the alley.
At a minimum.
At a minimum, take it to the end of the alley.
And while we're working with the other design?
And that's what I'm looking for, is some type of assurance from the town of, hey, I'm gonna have time to work with the town to relocate the dumpster. I don't even know if I have to come in front of the town to have permission to do that, or if that's something that can just be done. But widening there, can we continue to rely for now? There's do not enter local traffic only coming out of Culver's. If this doesn't get widened to 2 lanes, can we continue to rely on those so that way traffic can still come in and out as it needs to on South Railroad to access my business, whether it's for deliveries, trash pickup, things of that nature. And same thing, kind of leaving the alley as is. I know it's narrow. It's worked all this time. It hasn't created a problem. And to be quite honest, I'm surprised. The do not enter signs, they've kind of worked down by culverts. We're not seeing a lot of overflow traffic there. And that gives me the assurances that I can continue to service my property and have access to the back of my property for deliveries, for parking, for things of that nature.
If we're able to extend at a minimum South Railroad Street to the end of your west edge of your property, that would allow your customers and clients to, if they wanted to go and be able to exit back out either through that development or all the way down to the pork chop out. They wouldn't be facing a one-way street. They'd have a 2-way access, and as well as any of your clients who wanted to come in the back way, they would be able to enter into. Are you redoing any part of that?
I am. So and that's part of mine. I talked to them about adding on and doing some parking in back, doing a more permanent location as far as the dumpster. To be quite honest, I literally reached out to a couple of different places to kind of start getting drawings. And when they started asking me where I would have access or where the roads are going to be, and I told them, I don't know, they told me to stop. They're like, don't waste money. You need to figure out where the roads are at before you can start pursuing
My
it.
personal preference would be if that parcel to the east of you is developed, we would want to do the South Railroad Street widening all at the same time, and working with you to get right away, and working with them, and just be able to do that as much as we can in coordination with the developer.
And I understand saying, hey, we're not going to widen this until you find out what's coming along down here, so you're not doing one section and coming
I think
back.
your alley and going westbound is what we're still in the progress of working on.
Right.
But I think we can definitely work with you from there. Yes, that from there.
That section,
Yep.
perfect. Now, and so that's what I'm asking for,
Yeah.
is just the consideration for how can we figure this out timing if we are gonna vacate Indiana to allow me time to get dumpster moved? Where are we putting it? Because wherever we're putting it is probably temporary. So it's probably gonna go on the back of this property. Now all of a sudden, if we're widening, we're gonna move it again before we build a permanent structure. So there is kind of the mechanics as far as the timing is concerned, and then just hopefully some commitment from the town that we will widen it, we'll rely on the do not enter signs, and kind of see how this goes until we can kind of get it managed. We had talked, and they've been fantastic as far as, hey, when they build here, what kind of visual barriers, so we don't have headlights shining in
Or have you-
into our yard, into the animals' eyes and things of that nature in the mornings or evenings.
Have you thought about
basically.
temporarily putting it, your dumpster like at that northwest corner there, just temporarily?
Like in this area?
Yeah.
We had kind of thought that
That-
when we tear out Indiana and grade it, we'd leave some of the crushed stone and make a temporary pad basically on Indiana, on his side of Indiana.
Oh.
Put it there temporarily till you do your site plan and let us know where you want a pad and
So
the
you're
fence.
talking over in this corner temporarily?
Yeah, that'd be the easiest since we're already have debris there and we can kind of compact it then.
Isn't there a fire hydrant there or something?
There is. That would be my
Yeah.
only thing. There was the fire hydrant and telephone pole that I know initially, just in superficial conversations with the trash, they're worried about, depending on the condition. Unfortunately, Culver's tore out more road than they put in. So depending on the condition as far as how that is, as far as them be able to exit, as far as picking up, backing out, but that's a conversation. But again, those things are just gonna take time before we start tearing out Indiana to say, okay, where's the trash truck feel comfortable picking up without taking out a fire hydrant or a telephone pole, things of that nature.
So what you're really saying is you want
Mhm.
to see kind of a solid timeline on getting South Railroad 2 lanes behind your property all the way to your other alley before, and the dumpster relocated before Indiana leaves.
I'm not saying, you just want to guarantee it's going to happen.
I just want a commitment that it's gonna happen, understanding that may be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, but I know at some point it's
And
gonna
the
happen.
We've got money.
And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't wanna speak for you guys, I think if they'd have the assurance that, hey, yeah, Indiana's gonna be vacated, whether a first read happens today and a second read happens 2 months from now, they know the project's gonna be moving forward. From that standpoint, I don't think they're gonna be breaking ground in the next 30 to 60 days that Indiana has to
I don't
be
think
torn
we
out
need more
right
than
this
30
So
moment.
you're looking for a commitment from us
Dumpster.
that when Indiana leaves, that there's a plan to 2-lane South Railroad back behind your property and relocate your
Well,
dumpster.
we are,
And it happens in a reasonable
yeah,
sequence.
well, our plan, correct me if I'm wrong, we have money budgeted for that when, in MVH, right?
Yeah,
When,
so-
when that development happens, we can extend, work with the petitioner on that property of right-of-way,
Yep.
an expansion of South Railroad Street to the west.
So we had this in the budget.
Yeah.
We weren't sure where it was going to go, so we met with all the adjacent property owners first. From those initial discussions, it was a positive reaction by everybody, so we have engaged the engineering firm to create the right-of-way exhibits necessary to present the right-of-way to the adjacent owners. We'll have to get appraisals on those right-of-way portions so that we can get those all signed off. At the same time, we have a parallel track of designing that road that, so that we're not delaying time. So in general, if we can get that done, and Mark, correct me on my timeline, it's probably this summer sometime, the timing of it.
This summer for
For the,
construction?
for the exhibits.
For
For the
the,
right-of-way. We can't do anything till we have the right-of-way.
yeah, we should have the exhibits soon, and after we receive those, we'll have to wait for the appraisals, and that may take,
But it could be a two-pronged process. We could
Yeah.
do
Well-
the South Railroad Street expansion to the end of Dr. Harbin's and not be ready to do the other part. yet.
Correct.
Well, yeah.
Or you could do them together. I
Or
mean,
we could do them together.
We've got a number of things to clear the right-of-way on there. We've got hydrant to move, we've got some trees that need to be removed, we've got a couple utility poles, we got a storm sewer that has to be shifted. So we've got some things to do this year. Once we acquire right-of-way, we're going to start tackling those items and get it cleared, and then we can actually go through and do the construction. Right now, we tentatively have planned to do the construction of South Railroad Street all the way to Broadway in 2026. If the right-of-way gets cleared sooner, we can absolutely move faster than that, but it will depend a little bit on, citizens to relocate a hydrant, AES to relocate a couple utility poles.
Right.
Those are not necessarily fast processes.
So I
We
think-
have the money ready to go.
Yeah.
It's getting the documents back, getting the right-of-way signed, getting the engineering finished up, and then bidding it out and getting it done.
So, I mean, to kind of answer your question, Dr. Harmon, I mean, we are committed to doing that, but it's not going to be, I don't think, a one lump sum plan. Maybe it could if everything works together, but
And
it's,
I understand there may be that delay.
Yeah.
Mine is, I've been like 2 years of kind of limbo. So it'd at least be nice to know, like, hey, regardless, once Indiana's vacated, I have assurances that the town's gonna commit
Oh, yeah.
to bringing
I
that
mean,
down
we
to 2
want-
lanes,
I
at
wanna
least-
go-
at least through my property. So
absolutely.
that way I can start planning capital improvements on my property. So as I said before, I wanna join the new development, and I don't want it to end, the streets to end where I begin, basically.
No,
So-
I
So
want
I
to-
get there may be a delay. I'm just asking during that delay, can we make sure we're leaving enough leeway so that I can get dumpster relocated and things of that nature properly? When would you guys even start breaking ground?
Well, the question is, if we delayed the second reading for the vacation for an additional 30 days, would that cause harm or difficulty for the developer?
My name's Aaron Boyle, I'm with Midland Atlantic. My one question would be, Ryan, you had said that we can't start the BZA and plan commission process until we get the vacation done, so if we're, can we get things?
Oh,
Is that gonna delay us on the other?
It's not gonna delay.
do you guys, let me ask you guys a question. I mean, this is a party between you two, but if we vacate it and he hasn't had time to move his dumpster yet, are there any problems on your end for him to get on that, your portion of the property and move that dumpster after a vacation?
Absolutely not. And, I mean, I think every construction process, as we've heard tonight, has problems, and we're gonna have to deal with it. I think we've tried to.
We're gonna have to figure all that stuff out together,
We will
probably.
continue to work with you.
Right.
So what I would say, Dr. Harbin, is you, at a minimum, 30 days, but if you can't get it done, work with them to extend that time to move your dumpster.
And I get with that they're saying I could come on that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. I thought you had just mentioned you wanted to get it torn out between first and second read.
So we're gonna
So
work with them.
some of it's not me working with them, because if there's no road,
Yeah, he's
they're
gotta
not-
move his
they're-
dumpster
they're-
immediately.
Like, so if the plan is you guys are tearing this out between now and the next meeting, I have no idea when that is. That's my concern when I start saying timing.
Tim, can we just say you're gonna tear the road out, while you tear the road out, relocate the dumpster? I mean, God, it's like 64 minutes of work.
Yeah, I mean,
Fair enough?
we've offered that before. The town will relocate the dumpster for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just tell us where you want it, we'll put it there.
I mean, we'll want to check with your service
Yeah.
provider, but we're happy to
Yeah,
call
that's
them up
fine.
and
As
make sure
long-
it's
As long as I
okay.
know we got time to do
We'll
that.
tell you before we're gonna move it, but but if you're okay with us moving it.
To support it.
Can we
Yeah.
commit to widen the road to Indian West, relocate the dumpster? We don't miss the next second reading. Life's good. Everybody's happy.
Good?
But after we do the second reading, there's an appeal time, right?
Yeah, there's 30 days for someone who's aggrieved by the ordinance if they would want to. So there's a 30-day reporting time too.
So we could use that 30-day to remove Indiana.
So why?
Well, we would still own it because I can't release it until the 30-day period is over.
Okay.
So that essentially would give him to May 15th to have,
Well, we've already
Plus, we
agreed
don't
we'll
believe-
move his dumpster for him, so
If he
why does he
doesn't
need?
appeal it,
Yeah.
then we know that
I
that window.
I have a tractor, I'll
I
help.
think the extra 30 days, it gives us a contingency plan. If something
That's true,
happens with
that's true.
weather, things,
Yeah.
not sure who you guys are having tearing out, it gives a contingency plan, worst case scenario, if it takes longer to move. Just,
Okay. All right.
thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Herman. Anybody else have any public comment on the vacation of Indiana? All right, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion by council members, any concerns, thoughts? Like I said, this is just a first reading, so there's no action that'll be taken tonight.
We do have the contract for the removal of the
Right.
road on there.
Other
We
than
can
that.
delay the start of that whenever. We just need it approved at some point.
It would also be helpful if this is not necessarily a motion, but just
Correction?
direction that you're comfortable with the project filing for BZA in the meantime between now and second reading
I
of
mean,
the
I don't just
vacation.
speak for me. I'm comfortable with that, but I don't know how the other council feels.
I'm comfortable.
I'm comfortable.
Okay. Well, we do need a motion to approve the Indiana street removal on C quotes so that they can enter into a contract to do that between now and,
So if we're doing that, we're also committing to him that we're going to help relocate the dumpster and
in a sense, yes.
We will definitely make sure we help remove.
okay.
Yeah, what we're really doing right now is say we're taking up our asphalt and putting down grass seed. Is essentially what that is. So I'll take a motion whenever.
I'll make a motion to approve the vacation of,
No,
Nope.
that's table.
Removal and C
Table.
code.
Yeah, to authorize drafting of a contract and executing it.
Authorizing the removal and C quote.
We're just approving the quote for removal.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve the quote for the removal of the asphalt for Indiana Street.
Second.
There's been a first and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, thank you. All right, this is a first reading. I cannot believe we're going to spend this for 20 cents, but okay. Ryan, this is yours. This is an ordinance, and again, first reading in public hearing. Right?
Yes, just first reading tonight. No public hearing on this
Public
item.
hearing on this?
I will be very, very brief. You saw a much more comprehensive fee schedule update last month. We mentioned that we were still working on the right-of-way fees. We did not want to delay the larger fee update for that. And so this is a brand-new ordinance with very much the same information, with one exception being we have added in the red line here, which is really difficult to see. Maybe. That's really slow.
This is why we're waiting on this. 20 cents.
There we go.
Right there. That's it.
There we go.
That
So,
one little thing.
20 cents per lineal foot, and this sounds very minor, but it can add up to a decent amount of money. So we have a few different utility companies right now that are looking at, neighborhood scale installation retrofits of their utility into a neighborhood. And so, in addition to bore pits and trenching and the other things they have to do, the town has to go through and not only issue that permit, but review their plans and respond to all the locate requests. And that can add up to be a lot of manpower and time spent doing so. And so to ensure that we're properly feeing such requests, we are seeking the addition of this 20 cents per lineal foot to our fee schedule.
Okay. Any thoughts, concerns about the fee by council? So you'll be bringing this back in April for approval?
This will come back in April for public hearing and second reading.
All right.
Thank you.
We all go with the 20 cents per lineal. Okay, moving on. All right. Now this, going through here. Ordinance number 031125B, an additional appropriation ordinance. We are going to do a public hearing, and if we can, a first and second reading, if everybody's amicable. Tim, you're handling this?
Yeah, this is the additional appropriation allocating the funds for the purchase of the property on Broadway that you committed to at the last council meeting, as well as the funds for the right of first refusal. We anticipate both these coming out of seated. That's it.
All right, well, I open up for a public hearing for anybody that's opposed for, or just wants to comment on the town purchasing land on Broadway. Okay, I'm closing the public hearing. All right, any discussion by council members? If not, I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Make a motion that we suspend the rules.
Second.
There's been a first and second motion to suspend the rules. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. All right, and I'll take a motion to approve ordinance number 031125B, or one to oppose it. I don't.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 031125B.
Second.
There's been a first and second motion to approve ordinance number 031125B, additional appropriation ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, next one is a resolution, excuse me, 031125, a resolution to adopt the D&D Vale Trust fiscal plan.
Yep. I'll be very brief. Fiscal plan for the D&D Vale Trust project, which is on the next thing on the agenda. Yes. Our representatives from Crow are in attendance tonight to answer any questions you may have. The resolution is attached. Dr. Burney, we did make those edits that you requested earlier today to this document. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution number 031125.
Make a motion to approve resolution 031125.
Second.
There's been a first and second to approve ordinance, or resolution 031125, a resolution to adopt D&D Vale Trust fiscal plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. All right, next order of business is an adoption of a right of first right of refusal on said property.
Correct.
Any discussion? Questions? I did speak to the petitioner, Ryan, and he said he is fine if we pass this tonight. But he is yet to review it with his attorney, but as long as everything's good, he will come in to sign if we approve it tonight.
Okay, thank you.
And he has no questions. So I'll entertain a motion to enter into the adoption of a right of first refusal with the petitioner.
So moved.
Second.
It's been a first and second to approve the right of first refusal agreement with D&D Vale Trust. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next order of business, this is a second reading. This is an annexation. This is ordinance number 021825, an ordinance to annex in plus or minus 159 acres at the northwest corner of County Road 500 West and current County Road 600 North. This is the property owned by D&D Vale Trust.
Few reminders on this. This is located along 600 North, at the northwest corner of 600 North and 500 West. You saw a first reading on this at our special meeting in February. There has been no changes to the request. This is second reading and eligible for final action tonight. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions, concerns, thoughts by the council on the ordinance? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 021825.
Second.
There's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 021825, an ordinance to annex in plus or minus 159 acres at the northwest corner of County Road 500 West and County Road 600 North. That is the D&D Vale Trust property. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Staff will proceed with public notice of the post-adoption for that annexation.
All right, thank you. Moving on, this is a second reading on a ordinance this ordinance number 031125C, an ordinance to adopt a rezone ordinance to R1 for the annexed in property.
Yeah, as you'll, I'm sure, remember, the trust does not have any plans to develop the property right now. It is agriculturally used. They plan to continue to do so. We do not have an agricultural zoning district, so we are zoning it to our lowest intensity district, which is an R1 district. And then we have included some zoning commitments which just further provide assurances that the existing ag uses that are there today can continue and are permitted by right.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 031125C.
Second.
There's been a first and second ordinance to approve ordinance number 031125C, an ordinance to adopt a rezone ordinance to R1. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Beth, does there need to be a separate motion on the zoning commitments?
Well, I'm trying to find them.
They're attached to the agenda.
Oh, here we go, separate item, yes, because it wasn't part of the ordinance, that's what I was scrolling
Yep.
through. Yes, it does need to be adopted separately.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the zoning commitments related to ordinance 031125C.
Second.
There's been a first and second to approve, sorry, I lost this. the zoning commitments attached to ordinance number 031125C. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Stephanie, is there somewhere for me to sign this? I didn't see that up here.
No, no.
Okay, so afterwards I'll come in and sign. All right.
Generally, it's attached to the ordinance.
No, it's
Yeah.
not on that one.
We'll print it up.
Okay. Next order of business is Resolution 031125A, a resolution to adopt the Alexander Ridge fiscal plan.
Same exact spiel as a few petitions ago. Fiscal plan is attached by Crow for your review. We made the edits Dr. Burney requested earlier today, and happy to answer any questions you have on the fiscal plan for the Alexander Ridge 2.
Were all your questions answered, Dr. Burney?
Yes.
Okay.
Crow did a nice job on the plans, but I think they had some boilerplate in there that referred to things like removal of leaf and tree limbs and things like that by Public Works, which is a service that we do not do and don't want to start doing. Anyhow, there were things like that.
All right, so it's been cleaned up to your satisfaction.
Yes.
All right, great.
Make a motion to pass resolution 031125A.
Second.
There's been a first and second to approve Resolution 031125A, a resolution to adopt the Alexander Ridge fiscal plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, ordinance number 021125, an ordinance to annex in plus or minus 53 acres at the southwest corner of County Road 500 West and County Road 900 North. This is Alexander Ridge 2, correct? And we just passed the fiscal plan. This is a second reading and final action.
Correct.
Any comments, questions? There's a petitioner here. They want anybody?
Petitioner is here. I know they're prepared to give a presentation that we could do at the next item, which is the PUD.
Okay. Well,
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 021125.
Second.
there's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 021125, an ordinance to annex in plus or minus 53 acres the southwest corner of County Road 500 West and County Road 900 North. This is Alexander Ridge 2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Yeah, I guess it would make sense to have a presentation. Excellent, man. That's a good point.
Every once in a while.
Rules, I know. Okay, next item of business, ordinance number 031125D, an ordinance to adopt the Alexander Ridge 2 PUD. This has gone through in front of Plan Commission?
Correct, received a
Yes.
favorable recommendation.
And a favorable recommendation, all right. Were there any concerns or anything that was brought up that, are we satisfied that everything that the Plan Commission had concerns with taken care
Yeah,
of?
Plan Commission did not create any conditions of approval to my knowledge or my memory. And the require, or not the requirements, the direction from the ARC has been incorporated into the PUD.
Okay. Are any questions for the petitioner? And it's been vetted, so I will entertain them. I mean, it's just continuation of what they've got across the street, right? Same,
It's just an extension of Alexander Ridge.
yeah, the same product, or was there different products and elevations added, or?
It is generally speaking the same product series. Not to
Okay.
say that there won't be some homes, models that are offered that are different, some elevations, but generally speaking, the same product line as Somerton and existing Alexander Ridge.
They just have one section that's like all the maintenance provided, and another section is more traditional.
Okay.
It's kind of like that.
Oh, okay. All right, well, if there's no other questions for the petitioner, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 031125D.
Second?
There's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 031125D, an ordinance to adopt the Alexander Ridge 2 PUD. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Yes. Brian, this has probably been the easiest meeting you've ever had.
Mr. President, you've done an excellent job. Thank you.
Man, I tell you what. All right, appreciate you coming. All right, last order, or second last order of business, new business, is ordinance number 031125E, an ordinance to adopt a rezoning to R1 at 5249 West County Road North. This is a second reading. I believe this is the property owner who's annexed into town, or
That is
who
right.
sold?
That is correct. This is essentially the homestead that's remaining under the Alexander ownership. It's essentially this small square right here. That square might get a little bit bigger than what's shown on this particular aerial, but the family homestead is being annexed into town, but it's not going to be part of the PUD for obvious reasons. Existing home is staying. They may add some accessory structures in the future. And so staff and petitioner work together to determine that probably just keeping a very simple R1 zoning designation for the homestead made the most sense.
Are they currently on town sewer?
No.
Is there any obligation to make them go on town sewer since they're being annexed in?
They are not obligated to be placed on sewer. I'm sure that Mark will work with the developer to make sure that it's available to them, but
Yes.
not be required to hook
Yeah,
up.
what I'm worried about is this goes in, we have an issue down the road where they need to connect, so.
Well, we're
We'll make sure it's
obligated to provide it if they want to connect. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, we'll provide a
Within, like,
lateral
3
for
years.
them to connect, and it's just a matter of when they actually
Right, I just
make that choice.
want the infrastructure already in place, so it's not a
Yes.
come back and we got a bore or do anything like that. Okay, just want to make sure. Any other thoughts or concerns on adopting this is it currently what's it currently zoned as?
I think it's county R1 or county ag, one of the two.
Okay, so it's staying pretty much,
It's basically saying the same
Same
thing.
thing,
There's
yeah.
some minor differences.
okay.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 031125E.
Second?
There's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 031125E, an ordinance to adopt a rezoning to R1 at 5249 West County Road North. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, this is a petition for annexation of the forenamed property, 5249 West County Road North. North, correct?
This is a different project.
Oh, this is a different project.
this is
Okay.
different.
Yeah, this is
Gosh, we have so many-
adjacent-
this is a lot of
adjacent
annexations.
To the Vale property, further south.
Is it Vale or Jacoby?
Jacoby.
This is actually
Jacoby.
Jacoby
Oh,
property.
okay.
It's just north of the Vale property. We
All right,
just
thank you.
annexed.
Yes, it's on that. Good evening.
Oh.
Schedule to sign. This is going in
Thank you,
behind
sir.
our property. Up behind Woodhaven. I'm okay with that. It's back, it's, there's Vales and then Jacoby's, and they're keeping the woods. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Town Council. My name is Brian Toohey. My address is 50 South Meridian. I'm representing Four Star USA Real Estate Group. Thank you for hearing our request tonight for annexation and an eventual rezoning. Here with me tonight is Cheyenne Hoffa from Four Star and Kyle Peepat. And I think we have a PowerPoint.
Sure do.
Thank you. So Four Star Group is a residential lot development company. They do this around the United States. They provide single-family, mostly single-family home sites for developers of home builders. They try to create neighborhoods that fit into the area that they come into and also provide a community for the people that buy their lots and their homes. Next slide, please. So this site is 80 acres, as you can see from this depiction here, this aerial photograph. It's located south of 700 North and east of 600 West and just west of 500 West, and then to the south is 600 North. It is right next door to a piece of property that is called the Gatherings at Aurora, which you approved back in 2022, in September of 2022, that was rezoned to a PUD. It's north of another subdivision called, I think it's called Woodbridge. And this site is requested to be rezoned, or eventually going to be requested to be rezoned to a PUD and will have a connection to the existing subdivision to the west. It's called, that's the one that's called Gatherings at Aurora. And the one below it, so we go to the next slide, please. Yeah, this is the slide I'm looking for. So here's Woodhaven down here to the south. I guess if you're all looking over here, so we'll use this one right here. Here's Gatherings at Aurora. Here's Champions Lake, 600 here. And the idea is to annex this site right here, which is this 80 acres owned by the Jacoby family. Of course, you've got the frontage here on 500. Their preliminary site plan would have a connection here into the Gatherings at Aurora. And the proposed site would have a density of about 2.14 acres, 2.14 homes per acre. It's actually 2.13 to be really precise. And the Woodhaven subdivision has a density of about 2.7 per acre. This slide shows that what they would propose would be two different kinds of lots. On the north side, 65-foot minimum lots. On the south side, 80-foot minimum lots. One thing I'd ask you to notice on the layout is it's set back here from 500 by this green area along here, and then sort of running east to west across the site, be a trail along here. Of course, there'd be sidewalks on both sides of the street, and through the center of the site, have some detention areas, retain this wooded area down here, which would be adjacent to the Gatherings area over here, and these would be 80-foot lots along here. So there's a total of 171 lots on about 80 acres. That translates to a density of about 2.13 homes per acre. The next slide would show some renderings of the kind of homes they would expect to be built on these types of lots. Next slide, please. Here's some additional renderings and photographs of those homes. Next slide, please. In terms of what they expect in terms of sales price and sales activity in this subdivision, they would anticipate you'd have about 4 homes sales per month on the 65-foot lots, about 3 home sales per month on the 80-foot lots. They would assume, they estimate their average sales price for the 60-foot lots would be around just under $460,000, about $458,000. And they would estimate this average sales price on the larger lots would be about just under $525,000, so about $521,000. They have looked at the 5-mile radius around this market to see what the sales have been. And for the time period ending in September of last year, so September of 2024, they deduced that the annual sales, or the average sales price was about $380,000, so just under $400,000, and they analyzed about 352 transactions. The Gathering homes, that's in the area to the west that was approved back in 2022, those sales prices are estimated to be in the mid 400,000s and up when they came to see you folks and rezoned that Gatherings site. I was actually involved in that at that time. In terms of steps, this will have to come back before the Plan Commission and then back before you folks for rezoning approval and, of course, a hearing on those matters. There'll be notice sent out to all our neighbors. This is just the first step in moving forward with the annexation and the introduction.
Well, to quote my friend Larry Longman, there's never an annexation I didn't like, so I'm okay with an annexation. I do have a couple questions. I know this is getting into the weeds before, and luckily this is so preliminary. A lot of things can change between now and then. So I'm not opposed to the annexation at all. And I know the current landowner is trying to liquidate, trying to downsize. So I'd rather be under our jurisdiction than the county. So my question, Mark, is for you. Is there enough setback on this, as we just acquired the Vale, or annexed the Vale Inn property, so that's going to give us 500 that we're going to have to take care of a portion of that, correct? Is there going to be enough setback on this, that if we have to widen that road or down the road or at all? And is there going to be enough room? Because I don't want them to put up a mound up and then all of a sudden, 4 or 5 years we come down, we're widening the road and there's not that much separation between the road and the mound and so forth.
Yeah, our thoroughfare plan defines fixed widths that are required for, trying to remember what 500 West qualifies at. I think it's it's a wider section because it's
a secondary arterial.
It's not just a collector, the typical collector, so it's planned to be a little wider. So we already have, when they go through with their development plans, they'll have to comply with that requirement.
Okay.
And so we will have adequate width to improve 500 West.
Well, my other concern too is any of those houses are built along there. That is becoming a bigger road, a usage road. So, sound and traffic and that kind of stuff. So you just take that into consideration too. Is there enough buffering for those residents down the road? And the only other comment I have is I would say that the product wise, this reminds me a lot of some stuff we've already approved. Down there,
Weaver's Landing,
Sagebrook-ish kind of stuff. Are there any other elevations that maybe the petitioner's willing to bring to the Planning Commission for consideration?
Yes, I'm Cheyenne Hoffa. I'm the entitlements manager for 4-Star and also a fellow McCordsville resident. We are working with our building partners. One of the good things about being with 4-Star is that we are not a home builder, so we work with multiple partners throughout the United States and the Indianapolis market, so we can sell lots to multiple builders. So yes, I'm working with our main partner is D.R. Horton. Homes we're building in Fortville, just up the road by next to the Mount Vernon campus. So, but I'm working with some of our other home building partners to get something that will be acceptable. I've been having discussions with Ryan about what we've submitted thus far.
I don't want to become Mount Vernon North 2.0.
Okay.
Down there is what my preference at least. So, but again, this is your business model, but and we're talking strictly annexation right now, but just kind of since you're going to go through the process, I would highly encourage you to bring multiple ideas to the Plan Commission.
Yep, I've been having conversations with some of our other partners as well, and then we've also pushed back. I'm not going to be on the Architectural Review Committee for this month, but I'll be next month to kind of get more robust submittal for that. So,
I mean, Dr. Bernie, what your thoughts? I mean, it's close to champions.
Yeah. The elevations, I guess, are maybe a bit plain. So I'd encourage them to be looked at perhaps more carefully and listen closely to what staff says about them, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
They've got a good eye for it, and these are probably, quite a few of them probably wouldn't make it through ARC right now as they are. Some are pretty good. And then just on the layout, and this is really getting down the weeds, but do we need some additional stub roads like to the south there, Mark? I'm not sure.
That's a good question, and staff discussed that at length. There are transmission lines that run along the south side of this property. So after looking at it, we decided that it would not be in necessarily the best interest to
I'm
extend.
aware of those lines, and you're probably aware of Duke Energy doesn't necessarily allow you to infringe on their easements, but they're okay with us putting at least some things under their power lines. I think they're okay with putting water under their power lines.
That's an off-topic question we'll have to talk about later, but we've got new information.
I'm just thinking, the power lines are like, that's something we might be able to use, working with you. Just saying. I'm okay with the annexation. It'll go through the process.
All right, so with that said, only action will be next month, will be your first reading on annexation?
That is correct. We'll do first reading next month, and then it'll come back. Actually, it might be longer than that, because if you're not going to ARC until April, it'll probably be May before it comes to you guys for first reading. And then,
All right.
The annexation? I think the annexation has to be heard within 30 days of the petition being.
okay, we'll do first reading, then there'll be a delay before it gets to second reading then.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. You just have to have first reading within 30
I think you have
days?
to have the first reading within 30 days of the petition being heard by council.
Okay,
And then you can have a longer gap.
right.
That's what we'll do.
So we'll have a first reading, if you're all right with that, at the next meeting on the annexation.
That'd be fine.
All right, and then you can work through the process on everything else. All
Okay,
right, thank you.
thank you.
Ryan, we've finally gotten to you, Assistant Town Manager's report.
I have just two very brief things. Number one, more of a PSA, I guess. The comprehensive plan is beginning to wind down. I think we posted a public draft last Friday. We are acknowledging that we still have some edits to make. I'm currently working on those as we speak. And we'll continue to do that up until this Friday when we finalize a draft for the Plan Commission's review. But are asking the council to please take a look at it as soon as you can. Get us any comments as you go through that document, because we'd like to get to a point where we hope we have a recommendation next week from the Plan Commission and then have it on your agendas for your consideration in April. Just for the sheer thought of it's better to get it adopted on the books sooner than later. Something delays us, that's okay, but we're just trying to get it to a point where we can get it adopted, create our vision for the future sooner than later. So.
And everybody's received his draft, so if you have any comments or concerns before it starts going through, because I believe it goes to Plan Commission for adoption first, and then to us.
Yep, Plan Commission holds the public hearing and does a recommendation, very similar to a rezone process. And then you'll see it at second reading in April.
Okay, so if you got anything or questions, try to get them answered before the next Plan Commission meeting, which is what, next week?
Anything significant we really need to know this week. If there's small tweaks, we can always make things like that after the Plan Commission, but anything significant, when it gets to you in April, if it's a significant change, it's going to have to be sent back to the Plan Commission to be altered. That's kind of the way the comp plan process works.
And what, we need our comp plan approved for what purposes again? I forget, there's, for park impact?
No.
Or not park impact, but do the park
It sets our vision for the next 20 years, and it is the basis that we will then use to create our guidelines and eventually standards in the Unified Development Ordinance.
Oh, and for zoning too, right?
Yeah.
We need, okay, that's right, we need to have this done so we can work on our zoning.
Correct.
Okay, great. Project update?
Yes, posted, updated for this month. Happy to answer any questions. I don't think there's anything shocking on it. I know that's at a scale that you really can't read, but I'm happy to answer questions you have. I think we're up to 113 projects.
So it looks like you'd probably take off IU Health, right? Because new signs have been,
Yeah, I did this on Thursday or Friday last week, and then I drove in Monday and saw that the signs went up. So this will come off for next month.
okay, well.
112, yeah.
All right, working our way
Big
down.
reduction.
Slowly but surely. Town Manager's report.
You want me to start the 5-minute timer? We have a new timer system here, so we can do 2-minute, 5 minutes.
We'll wait till we get to councilors' comments. I'll let you have a few, I'll let you have a little bit more time now.
Yeah.
I like the thermostat the best.
Yes. I don't believe it for 1 minute. I'm
No, because it went from 71 to 73. When you, every time you talk and breathe, it goes up.
It works on your
first thing is, if you're not following our social media or you haven't signed up for our Friday Blast, please do. Not that we had a break from construction season, but the nice weather is kind of getting people in that mode of being out there, and we're going to start hitting road projects and various other we're working in Old Town now, and some, we're trying to communicate the best we can of what's closing when and what road restrictions there might be. We'll put out the signs when we need to. This is in particularly going to be important when we start the 6 and 6 roundabout. I don't know when we're planning on starting that, but it's not that far off.
Was that an indication?
That was a question.
Okay.
Sorry. It's the end of the meeting.
Yeah, we're actually, have gone through all the utility work plans, and so, and had the pre-construction. Reith Riley is the contractor with that. I don't know the exact date when they're breaking ground, but all the utilities have their work plans approved and should be ready to roll on that soon. And I think there's one hydrant relocation and a couple other things that have to happen as well with the utility work plans.
6 West will stay open during that with restricted lanes. 6 North will be closed for periodic times where we'll have alternate routes. So please keep an eye on social media on the Friday Blast, and we'll do our best to communicate and get signage out there and coordinate all that. It'll be a painful 3 months, but it'll be really nice when it's done. At least that's what I like to tell everybody. We're also starting to deploy the speed monitor as well. So we have it in Vintners Park right now, monitoring a requested area. We will be rotating that throughout the community. HOAs can actually request that through our website. I think it's a form. I'd have to find it, but it's on our website. I believe it's under forms. Doesn't mean we're going to go roll it out there right away, but we'll put it on the list of someplace that people have concerns with. It allows Mark to collect data, see where we actually have problems, where adjustments need to be made. So we did it just briefly last year on 700 West, and right now it's in Vintners Park, and we'll kind of roll it through the community and utilize that to give us some good data. The Stan Wilson update, parks. 315 robotics. We're offering a robotics free 1-hour class. They have 25 kids signed up. We have the second round of Euchre League going. The first round was very successful. Everybody had a good time. Second round is underway. They have 12 teams signed up. Easter Bunny pictures are on April 12th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. here at Town Hall. So bring your kids in, or adults, in to see the Easter Bunny. 425 and 420, April 24th and April 25th, Arbor Day seedling giveaway. We have 500 tree seedlings to give away. Participants can get 5 each. So I don't remember exactly what the different trees are, but there were some pines and there was, I believe, tulips and some really nice trees there. So some that grow pretty quickly. So 500 seedlings, we'd like to give them all away, like to get them planted, preferably not in the right of way. And on May 10th is our first market in McCordsville, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at McCord Square. We currently have 39 vendors enrolled for the 10th, so put that on your calendar as well. Reminder that Beth and I will be absent from the April meeting due to Hamilton Southeastern spring break, so we will have an attorney from Taft covering, correct, Beth?
Yep.
And I will have the B team covering me over here, so.
Wow.
So, Ryan, we'll make sure Ryan has all the current information, so.
Yeah.
So, and this last thing, we've been doing a lot of hiring for these open positions, which is why we need to get moving on the town hall renovation, because we have nowhere to put them. We're putting our poor stormwater foreman in the closet that used to house the cat, so hopefully that's a temporary solution, but.
Hopefully they're not allergic.
Well, yeah. So we actually had somewhat of a promotion of our wastewater laborer to the stormwater foreman. We're really excited about that. We think he's going to do really well. Of all the darn luck, we were able to backfill the wastewater laborer within a week, which we couldn't believe. So we have an offer going out to that person tomorrow, I believe. We have hired the Assistant Director of Planning. She will be starting April 7th. Thank you. I am doing interviews Thursday for the Executive Assistant position. We have hired one of the 2 park maintenance laborers, and he's doing wonderful. We have backfilled the 2 vacant DPW laborers. And then we have 1 part-time programmer. We have 2 others that will be hired. I think we only have 1, right? And then we are also working, we'll be meeting with our communications intern for the summer. We have someone targeted who's been interning at Mount Vernon Schools, and is going to be graduating, and we're going to use her over the summer to beef up our communications, our social media, do some writing and some cleanup of our new website, and really focus on that. So we still have some part-time parks positions to fill. We have part-time DPW, and we have part-time programmers. So, but we're getting pretty close to full capacity, and then we'll wait to see what happens downstate.
Just for clarification, the programmer doesn't do computer code, they do parks programs, right?
Parks programming, yes, correct, sorry.
All right, thanks, Tim. Okay, the next item on our agenda is town councilor comments. I'm gonna let Tim play with his new toy. 5 minutes on the clock, Tim. Oh, no, it's restarted, no.
He's cheating.
You gotta restart it. Okay.
You think I know how to do that?
I'll start to my left with Dr. Price.
There you go.
I'll pass.
All right.
He's already cheated me out of 3 seconds.
I'll pass.
Oh, come on.
Scott?
Pass.
Dr. Bernie?
I have only one thing. You had some problems with Duo earlier. Evidently, this is a Microsoft-wide problem, and if anybody's having problems getting on with Duo and the two-factor authentication, Microsoft.web seems to work.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bernie. Anything else? All right, I got two quick things. Number one, to kind of piggyback on what Tim said earlier, the weather's getting nicer, which means we start seeing more solicitors in our town. So just for people who might be listening online or sign up, we ask for a peddler's permit or solicitor's permit. And if they don't have one, when check our website, I think we do a really good job of updating who has those permits. But if not, I know our police department does a great job, but just call the non-emergency number, 317-477-4500. That's the police dispatch, and they will come out and check and make sure they're supposed to, they've dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's or not. The other thing is spring break for Mount Vernon is coming up, and so I just want to wish, whether they're traveling or not, every student and their families have a safe, 2025 spring break. All right. Anybody else? Anything good? We get the last thing.
Move that we approve the vouchers.
There's a first to approve the vouchers. Do I have a second? There's a second by Dr. Bernie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Our next meeting will be April 8th, 2025.